The anime is set in Japan. This country had never won a soccer World Cup, so the Japanese Soccer Federation decided to take radical actions to win the World Cup. He is Isagui, the protagonist of this story. He and his classmates were competing for a place in the national finals. In the last minutes of the game he had the chance to score a goal, but as he had been taught to play as a team, he ended up passing the ball to the other striker, but that person could not score a goal. The game was over. They were very sad while the other team was overflowing with happiness. The captain of the other team was a very good player. The farewell had come. Even though they were all crying, Isagui did not shed any tears. He remembered how his process to become a good striker was, where he was told that soccer was a team game. He thought that if he trusted his team he would go far, but he didn't. Deep down he wanted to kick the ball. The protagonist returned home disappointed. His parents told him that a very important letter arrived from the Japanese Soccer Federation. The letter said that they were looking for promising young soccer players, and when he heard that, he felt that something big was about to happen. The day of the date had arrived. He was curious to know what was the proposal that they were offering. When he arrived at the place he met different students who were around the average age of 18 years old. Among them was the striker who eliminated him from the national team. That boy was called Kira. What characterized them most was that they were all strikers. The lights go out and a mysterious man makes his presence. His name is Ego. This man explains that Japan's soccer quality is a disaster. The method they have been using to play in the World Cup has been a failure. That is why today he brings the strategy that everyone uses to become the world champion, which is selfishness. The great footballers of the world got where they are thanks to their selfishness. He wanted to replicate this idea. That's why he had created a system that seeks to find the best striker. This was the BLUu3 project. The doors were opened. Those who were willing to excel and leave everything behind must enter the door. Isagui imagines that, if he had been selfish in that match and kicked the ball, he would have won. Without hesitation, he was the first to walk through the door. He wanted to be a selfish striker. Like him, many other strikers walked through the door. The organization had created a facility where they will be able to live and train. The organizer explains that the facilities are designed with enough technology to be able to monitor all their activities. In addition, each one of them will have a number that corresponds to the rank they have. There were 12 participants in this group. The organizer explains that a team can only have 11 members. The first test was to eliminate one person. The person who touches the ball will be eliminated. All of them did not want to be eliminated and tried to pass the ball to everyone they could. The last one to have the ball was the protagonist. He, like them, did not want to be eliminated. He kicked the ball to all these players. All of them were very skillful and managed to avoid touching the ball. Isagui realizes that one of the boys is not skilled and goes for him. That boy had fallen to the ground. It was time to pass him the ball. If he did not want to be eliminated, he had to hit him with the ball. But he could not do it. He wanted this to be fairer. He wanted to change as a person. So he went in search of someone else. Bachi could notice Isagui's fighting spirit and took the ball away from him, and then made a direct pass to Isagui. As he saw the ball coming towards him, he realized that as a striker he will always look for the hottest spot. There were only 10 seconds left for the time to end. Now that he had that hot moment, he did not hesitate to finish off the ball in Kara's face. For a few seconds he had become a demon. On the other hand, the Japanese Soccer Federation had its own fights. The government was questioning whether the project they are putting forward is really working. One of the organizers says that Japan needs a change in soccer and the only one who can do it was that man. The time was over. The young man who was eliminated could not believe it had been that way. He went into a state of shock and insulted everyone, thinking he was superior. But the organizer tells him that complaining is useless. As a soccer player, he should have known that even if there is only 1 second left, there is always a chance to save situations. If he does not have the ability to see the environment he is in, it is better to leave. Kara glared at the protagonist and walked away. This made the protagonist very excited. The organizer is happy to overcome their limits, asks them to be selfish, and from now on they will start their life in BLUu3. For the next few days, the whole group of boys will be training to improve in their physical skills. Isagwi realizes that all his classmates have different and better talents than him. As he was of low rank, the food he received was the most basic and not delicious at all. During the night he could not sleep. He thought about how he destroyed a person's dreams. That person will never be able to play for the Japan national team again. As he could not sleep, he decided to train a little. Arriving at the field, he met Bachi, the boy who passed him the ball to eliminate Kira. Bachi explains that every time he played he felt he couldn't find someone worth passing the ball to, until one day he had the ability to sense the inner demon in people. At that moment when he had the ball he could feel that Isagwi had a demon inside, although only for a few minutes. The next day they are informed about the other participants. Of the 25 groups that exist, the Z team was the worst. The protagonist's group was Team Z, and he realized that his level was very low and he needed to improve himself. On a very expensive cruise ship, there was a promising young soccer player. This young man was playing in the big leagues in Europe, but his passport had expired and he had to return to Japan. One person is trying to persuade this promising soccer player to stay for a few years in a Japanese league or to play for the national team, but he says that the quality of soccer in Japan is not good enough and he is leaving. As he was leaving the site, he noticed that a press conference was being held. The journalists wanted to know why they had created the Blue Lock and why the promising young soccer players were confined. The head of the board of directors tried to explain that all these boys had the necessary permissions from their families and not to worry. The journalists kept questioning with all kinds of questions. One woman is tired of hearing pessimistic questions about the project. She explains that Japanese soccer needs a change. The purpose of the project they were doing was to get a hero to take soccer to another level. She asks them if they wouldn't like to see such a person. The organizer explains that it is time to eliminate some teams. In addition, the players who score the most goals will have the chance to move up a level. It was time to make soccer from scratch. What Japan needed was to be the best. The best way to prove it was to be the winner of the World Cup. This is a fight, this is Blue Lock. Saying those words, the press conference was over, further angering the journalists. The young soccer promise had heard those words. He had to go back to Europe, but he decided to stay. Now more than anyone else he wanted to know what these idiots were planning. The protagonist had to play an important game in order not to be eliminated. He could not lose, he had to survive. As all these guys were strikers, they had to draw lots for the positions they would play. The main character got to be a striker. Before the game, the organizer told them that if they were able to score many goals even if they lost, they would not be eliminated. The game had started. The protagonist expected to score at least one goal, but the reality was different. His own soccer teammates had taken the ball away from him. They were all taking the ball away from each other. The captain of the other team took the ball in this conflict and scored a goal. Now Isagwi was at a disadvantage. He asked them to respect the roles, but no one paid attention, while the other team started to score more and more goals. While the other team was united, the Z group was in complete disarray. The protagonist knows that the only strategy to calm down his teammates is for someone to score a goal. With Bachi's help he was able to get the ball close to the goal, but in front of him was the captain of the other team. The protagonist knows that if he kicks from this distance he will not be able to score the goal. So he had to pass the ball to someone else, but to whom? He went into a state of deep meditation and knew who the right one was, passing the ball to Kuni. During training, Isagwi had observed that Kuni had a good aim from distance and he did not hesitate to pass the ball, scoring the goal from long distance. The captain of the other team thought Isagwi was a coward for not kicking the ball. He told him that he had no talent. Soon the game was over. In the dressing room the boys were reproaching each other for all the bad plays they were doing. The words that the captain of the other team told him were affecting him, believing that he has no talent to be a striker, but Bachi tells him that the pass he made was spectacular, encouraging Isagwi a little. The organizer reports how the other teams did, where the one that stood out the most was the V team, winning by 8-0. If they want to revolutionize soccer, they should look for their weapons, what they excel in. That way they will be able to score more goals. This is not over, they could still win. In the next game they must win or they will be eliminated.